Hello everyone. As you can see by the title of this video is about inquiry in the classroom. Today I will be answering 4 questions about inquiry, but if you have any other questions, feel free to leave a comment below and I will try and do my best to answer them. So let's get started. Question number 1. Question number 1, what are the essential components needed to set up an inquiry classroom successfully? First and foremost, teachers, do not jump in. Do not cannonball into this process. This is a process that you want to ease yourself into and your students into, because if you don't, both of you will become very, very overwhelmed by the amount of work. For teachers, myself, last year when I did an inquiry, I jumped all in at the beginning of the year and I really, really regretted it. First off, I did not teach my students how to use inquiry properly. So first, you have to teach your students. To set up a successful inquiry classroom, you must teach your students how to collaborate, how to communicate, how to speak with respect, how to listen, all of those things that are essential to help an inquiry process go smoothly. Because if you don't do that, you will get frustrated, and so will your students. Secondly, teachers, you have to know what your role is. Your role is not just to stand on the side. Your role is to ask questions, to basically stir their curiosity even more than what it already is. And so teachers, you really have to know your curriculum inside out and upside down, because you want to be able to ask those types of questions that they're going to be able to connect forward to future curriculum you might be teaching, but also to connect to stuff that you might have already taught them. So question number 2, here we go. Question number 2, what are the student benefits of learning through an inquiry approach? So many benefits, so many, but these are my top ones. First off, communication. Secondly, collaboration, respect. Those are huge skills that students are going to be able to take with them outside of school. Those are skills that will help them get a job someday, that will be successful in the workplace. And so if we can start those skills at a young age, can you imagine how great our communities will be? Another benefit, and this is probably one of my favorite, you get to see every single student blossom. You get to see every student's strength, especially when they are working in small group inquiry. Your kids who hardly raise their hand, you're going to see a side of them you have never seen before, and it absolutely is amazing. Because in a large group setting, those students will never raise their hand. If you stick with the traditional methods, if you stick with those methods that might feel comfortable to you, such as lecturing or worksheets, those are the kids who are going to unfortunately slide under the rug, and they might kind of be labeled as an at-risk student, or they might start falling behind. With inquiry, you will see those students' strength just blossom, which is awesome feeling as a teacher. Question number 3, what is the role of assessments and how can teachers develop effective assessments using an inquiry? So when we think of assessments, I think oftentimes in our mind we think pencil, paper, sit down, there's one right answer. With inquiry, it's completely different. And it does take a little bit more time, but in the end, you are able to see a much better thinking process coming from your students than if you just have them fill in a bubble or circle the correct answer, because students have to develop and gather ideas to support what they are talking about. They have to provide you evidence, whether that is through a written answer, whether that is through a verbal answer, whether that is through a demonstration. They have to provide that evidence to you, and they have to show you that they physically understand the concept that is being taught. And another thing with assessments is the role of scaffolding. You might be teaching a certain skill that at the beginning, you might have to provide that assistance and that extra support for them. But by the end, in order to assess them, you're going to see, okay, I removed that scaffolding completely, and now my students are able to do this by themselves, and they are able to explain and show me, yes, I understand how this works, and I know, I can tell you what this skill is. So question 4, how can student engagement be impacted through the implementation of an inquiry approach? So as previously stated, students understand that their ideas and their curiosity are driving the learning. they're understanding, they're going to be so invested. They know that it's their ideas and they're going to connect to it a lot better. If students can make their own connection, they're going to be so invested. And once they become invested in their learning, that is when the responsibility kind of goes onto them. And I'm not saying that your role as a teacher stops, but essentially that's what we want as teachers. We want our students to take responsibility of their learning, and we want them to come to school every day with that drive and that passion of, I want to get going. I want to push myself to become the best learner that I can be. So I hope this helped answer some of your questions about inquiry. If you have any other questions below, leave a comment. As a teacher, I have done inquiry myself. It is fun. It brings a whole new side in the classroom. And so I encourage you to test out inquiry in your classroom as well.